Bill Gates Foundation just sold every single share of Microsoft they own. 7.7 million shares. That's $3.2 billion gone. Now, on the exact same day, Bill Ackman bought 5.65 million Microsoft shares for over $2 billion of his own money. Two of the smartest investors on the planet. Same stock, same quarter, completely opposite calls. What's up, everybody? Today, I'm going to show you exactly which side I picked, why I added more shares this morning, why I bought a 4:30 call expiring this Friday, and what this morning's massive court ruling has to do with all of it. Here's what we're covering. First, the fundamental case for Microsoft, the most recent earnings, the growth numbers, and the sector this company sits in. Then I'm going to break down what actually happened in court this morning and why it matters for the stock price. After that, I'm giving you all three sides, the bull case, the bear case, the neutral case, just everything, all my opinion. And then we're going to get into the technical setup. My entries, the short-term trade that I got, because if you have been following the past few videos, streams, you know I've been buying the past week or two Microsoft MSFT, which is a leverage ETF. And then if you're in my group today, then you got the alert that I bought some calls for Friday. So stick around to the end because that's where I'm going to show you everything I'm looking at for this week. And hopefully we absolutely send it short term. Okay. Now, part one, the fundamental case, right? So let's just start with the numbers because the numbers here, they're not so subtle. Microsoft reported their fiscal third quarter on April 29th. So revenue came in at $82.9, so almost $83 billion, which is an 18% jump year over year. Operating income was $38.4 billion, up 20%. So the net income, $31.8 billion, up 23%. Their diluted EPS, $4.27, up 23%. For context, analysts going into the print were expecting $81.4 billion in revenue and $4.06 in EPS. So Microsoft beat on both. The beat was about 5%. So they didn't just squeak by. Like that's a pretty substantial beat. But here's the part that actually matters for the future of this business. So Azure and I always say that. I always feel like I'm saying that wrong. Azure and other cloud services, they grew 40% year over year. Microsoft's own guidance going in was 37 to 38%, and they did 40. And on the AI side, the CEO Nadella said on the call that Microsoft's AI business now has an annual revenue run rate of $37 billion. That's up 123% year over year. So just the AI segment inside Microsoft is running at $37 billion annualized pace and more than doubling every single year. Now, the full Microsoft cloud number, that's Azure's plus Microsoft 365, the commercial cloud, plus the Dynamics 365, there's LinkedIn Plus, everything cloud delivered, that came in at $54.5 billion for the quarter, also up 29%. And here's the number nobody's talking about. Commercial remaining performance obligation. That's basically signed contracts that have been recognized as revenue yet. At the time I'm recording this, a lot of people are really buying up MU for those same purposes. They already got the revenue. They don't have it in their hands, but the contracts are signed. Now that number is $627 billion, up 99% year over year. Microsoft has nearly doubled its forward contract book in a single year, which is an absolutely insane number. Now, let me give you some context on the sector itself. Cloud infrastructure and AI are not optional spending categories anymore. Every Fortune 500 CFO is either expanding cloud spend or migrating workloads. Microsoft sits in the top 3 of public cloud globally. So alongside Amazon Web Service, that's the AWS here I'm talking about on their earnings, Google Cloud, and on the AI side through OpenAI partnership, Microsoft has effectively built itself a direct pipe into the most commercial successful AI lab on the planet. That's why the sector matters. We're in an early multi-year capital expenditure supercycle for AI infrastructure. Microsoft is one of the small handful of companies with the balance sheet, the customer base, and the existing distribution to actually capture that spend and scale. Everyone's home has Microsoft or Apple. You know this. Let's talk about what happened today in court, because this is the catalyst that had me adding to the position. So this morning, a federal jury in Oakland, California, delivered a unanimous verdict in Elon Musk's lawsuit against OpenAI with Sam Altman, Greg Brockman, and Microsoft. So the jury started deliberations at 8:30 a.m. Pacific, and by 10:23, they were done. Less than 2 hours. Okay, Musk was seeking $150 billion in damages. He wanted Sam Altman removed from OpenAI's leadership. He wanted to block the conversion of OpenAI's for-profit entity ahead of its potential IPO. The jury ruled against him in every single claim, and the judge Gonzalez Rogers adopted the jury's findings as her own ruling. So, why did Musk lose? Statute of limitations. It's not a statue, okay? The court applied a 3-year limit on the charitable trust claims and a 2-year limit on the unjust enrichment claims. The evidence showed OpenAI's founders were discussing commercial structures as far back as 2017. OpenAI launched its for-profit arm in 2019. Musk didn't file his lawsuit until 2024. The jury found he simply just waited too long. It's only illegal if you report it right away. Time and money change the laws. Okay? Microsoft was named as co-defendant. The allegations was aiding and abetting. The jury threw that out on the same grounds. Microsoft walks away completely clean. Now, here's why that's a big deal for the stock. If the jury had sided with Musk and the judge had agreed, OpenAI and Microsoft could have been forced to just send out up to $150 billion in damages back to OpenAI's nonprofit foundation. Could have unwound the structure of OpenAI's for-profit entity. It could have forced Altman out, and it could have potentially blocked the upcoming OpenAI IPO, which right now is being valued at $852 billion in court. Now, Wedbush analyst Dan Ives put it best in his note today. He said the verdict eliminates the worst-case scenario that's been hanging over both Microsoft and OpenAI for a year. And here's the kicker. Microsoft has spent over $100 billion on this OpenAI partnership. So with this verdict, the legal overhang on that entire investment is now cleared. Now, let me get back to those two billionaire flows I mentioned at the top because they deserved the full context. So Bill Ackman's disclosure dropped on May 15th. The Pershing Square's 13F filing showed they owned 5.65 million Microsoft shares, worth about $2.09 billion at the end of the first quarter, roughly 2.3 by Friday's close. The part that I love, Ackman didn't just file. He explained his reasoning. He said he started buying in February of this year, I think after he heard me talk about buying it. Now, he said after the post-earnings sell-off at a valuation of about 21 times forward earnings. He called that broadly in line with the market multiple and well below Microsoft's own trading average over the last few years. Long-winded way to say he saw a yellow box, he follows Don Fran on YouTube, and just wanted to make money. His reasoning was specific, though. Azure Cloud growth, Microsoft 365 Copilot at $30 per user per month, Azure Foundry, and an OpenAI stake. He believes the market is not fully valuing this. So that's the buy side. Again, on the exact same note, Bill and Melinda, the Foundation Trust, disclosed they had fully exited their remaining Microsoft position because they just couldn't force any. I'm just kidding. They sold 7.7 million shares during the first quarter, worth about $3.2 billion. It's a full exit, so it's not a trim. It's not what you normally hear, like, oh, the CEO insiders are selling, and it's Jensen Huang sold 30 shares of NVIDIA. Oh, he's out. The Foundation Trust has held Microsoft stock since the year 2000. For the first time in 25 years, it owns 0 shares. He's just not a trader. So you have two billionaire flows going in completely opposite directions on the same stock in the same quarter. Ackman entering, Gates exiting. Have fun with that. Now, that is real institution disagreement, and we're going to come right back to that in the bull, bear, and neutral case, which is what's next. I guess we'll just do all three because if I just sold you on the bull case, I'd I'd be the kind of YouTuber that I don't want to be. I'm always talking about the heads and tails, of each coin. Microsoft is a 40% Azure grower again. The AI business is at a $37 billion run rate, more than doubling year over year. Commercial backlog is up 99% to $627 billion. The OpenAI legal overhang just cleared today. Bill Ackman just initiated a $2 billion position at 21 times the forward earnings. The operating margin is sitting at 46.3%. I don't know if you just heard that just now because I'm kind of talking fast, but the operating margin is sitting at 46.3%. This company is growing top line at 18% and bottom line 23%, a $3 trillion plus market cap. Not a lot of stocks can say that. In fact, let me know in the comments down below how many can. There's about 6,000 on the market right now. Of that, how many can say that? The bull case, in one sentence, you're buying one of the highest quality compounders on the planet right before the next leg of the AI CapEx cycles that starts showing up in the income statements. Now, the case no one wants to talk about, the Winnie the Pooh case. And it's a Winnie the Pooh's real, CapEx, they're massive, they're getting bigger. Microsoft guided a full-year fiscal 2026 CapEx to roughly $190 billion. Analysts had been modeling around $155 billion, which is why they're never accurate in the first place. You ever found an analyst that's right? We'll take their word for it. Now, that is a $35 billion gap, okay? And it's the actual reason the stock fell after earnings, even though the print was strong. And we're always talking about the guidance, right? The bear case is you're funding a multi-year CapEx arms race against Amazon, Google, and my number one, Meta. Not a big fight you want to not a fight you want to go up against, and we just don't yet know what the return on capital looks like at this scale. We're in uncharted territory. The stock is also still trading about 25% below its all-time closing high of like $539. It was October 28, 2025. So that tells you the market has been digesting these CapEx concerns for several months now. And we've seen it's kind of all everyone's been talking about. The Gates Foundation Trust fully exiting their $3 billion position. It's not nothing. The trust has held Microsoft for 25 years. They closed this quarter to be all the way out. And sometimes you made enough, so I don't know if that's really bearish or just time to move on. Now, the neutral case, because maybe the truth could be somewhere in the middle, Microsoft is a fantastic business and it has already had a massive run, and the next leg up may need to wait for proof that $190 billion in CapEx is actually going to generate durable returns on capital. In the neutral case, you don't need to be a hero. You can sit out. You can dollar cost average. You can wait for either a real pullback towards the high 300s or a confirmed breakout above the recent highs, but before you commit size. And that's the honest framing. All three cases have a real argument. I'm obviously choosing the bullish one, and I'll make fun of you if you pick the other two. But to each their own. Everyone has an opinion. Mine's just right. All right, so jumping into the technicals, right? So as you can see here, the all-time closing high, 539. So it's back in October, and we have a low of 356. Today, the stock trading at 418. We had a close of a 423. Two things have my attention right now on this chart. Right now, the bull flag. So we've been trending down, right? Lower highs, lower lows. We finally got the reversal, right? So here's our low, here's our high, here's our lower low, and we got above it. So we're not making lower highs anymore, which is absolutely awesome for me. Now, we also, why I've been buying it the last couple of weeks, I really wanted to get that reversal. So I wanted it to reverse, right? So we actually got above that zone, kind of played this out. And why last week I started really buying it up is because I just started seeing we had this bull flag situation going on here, which I guess to me just confirms more of my bullish bias. We were able to push up. Not only did we push up, but the bears just had zero follow through. If it's enough to just make it a bull flag, every bull flag, you have to have a red candle to make a bull flag. So that doesn't concern me. So we have a bull flag happening right as the court case gets thrown out. We have AI absolutely about to send it on a leg up. Now, again, I'm buying shares for the long haul. I gave you the fundamentals for the long haul. But the short term, the MSFU, which is a leveraged ETF. You guys heard me buy that last week. Again, just accumulating a whole bunch right here in this bull flag. I wanted a little bit of leverage, but I didn't want to go straight options contracts. I didn't want to give myself a bad expiration date. But then again today, with that, with the court case getting thrown out, I ended up buying a 4:30 strike call for this Friday. So that's right here. One standard deviation puts us at 437. So if that bull flag can pan out, if the markets can just get green enough, I'll see that absolutely send. In terms of deltas, it could be an awesome deal. There's the sale pitch. Like, for the price of one share, I was able to buy an options contract. I'm going to control 100. I don't want to do that here. This is a short-term play that I'm kind of hoping we just send it up. I will take the profit from this, and I will buy more shares. As this does start to break out, I will go into MSFU and I'll start trailing it. Once I exit both of these, the profits of both of these will go into MSFT, and that's where it will sit for at least the next 2 years. I don't think we're going to crash until 2028. And I first said that as a joke last year after we'd crashed. I said, all right, guys, don't worry about that. The next crash won't be till 2028 now that it's all done. Said that as a joke, and it kind of looks like it might just be lining up. Now, the CapEx and everything does have to follow through. The money needs to start returning something. So I said this in a previous stream, AI does have an expiration, but I do think we're in a bubble right now. Microsoft, it's important to know the fundamentals on these. Why I'm taking swing trades and everything else like that, that's the trader. I'm a full-time trader. That's my main income. Not a lot of income coming off a stock that just keeps going up. There is a lot of growth, though. There's a lot of your money, your buying power going up. There's potential down the road. I'm certainly not here to watch my money go down. So taking all that in, we're in the right sector. We're in one of the top stocks. All of them in a bubble will push up. Now, they'll probably all come down when the bubble pops. But there's is there a bubblegum wrapper? I don't know. There's the ones that are just going to come down because the inflation goes away, and I'm talking the balloon inflation going away. And then there's the crap ones that went up because they're a software company, because they're AI. They said the right thing, and everyone just piled in because of the keywords, and that's it. And those will get absolutely decimated. So those, you just kind of enjoy the ride and get out. This one, I'm still going to enjoy the ride, but the time I plan on exiting these is going to be hopefully later as the bubble is popping. But I wanted to try my hand at just telling you guys what I'm investing in, why. Go a little bit over the fundamentals and why it's going to be there for years. But also, here's the swing positions that I'm in. So I do need to let me know in the comments down below. What do you think of this style? Because we're getting into a bubble, I think it's important that everything that you guys are buying, you need to truly understand the company itself. There's a stock world and the real world, and I don't usually care about the fundamentals. I do, but the fundamentals are just more of if it doesn't have good fundamentals, I'm not even having this conversation. So while I might do a lot of technicals and I just watch a lot of the money and I follow the money, all the stuff that I'm in, it's still good stuff, right? I'm not talking we're not talking the fundamentals on Peloton because there's just no point. We're talking fundamentals on Microsoft, Meta, Tesla, Nvidia. The other one that I just most recently bought, I'm going to wrap it up here, but do me a huge solid. If you made it this far, let me know if you want a full breakdown on the other stock that I just bought pretty recently that I do think might have a send-it moment here in July. I think it starts to get cooking, so I'm gonna start accumulating that now. If you're in my group, you already know what this is. If you guys ever want to join that, links are always in the description. But do me a huge solid. If you like this video, right, and you want to hear what I'm investing in, let me know, and I'll make another video right now of the other stock that I also bought. But I'll wrap it up here. I will see you guys in my live streams or on the Friday Wealth video. Have a good one.